afternoon. Good afternoon. Here we are. Please have a seat. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ben Costantini. I'm the founder and CEO of Startup Sesame. We've been working with the Startup Booster competition since the very first edition 5 years ago. And here today I have an amazing group with me of speakers who will share with you some of the learnings, the great opportunities that a competition that's like Startup Booster brings to the composite industry. And I would like to ask them to introduce themselves quickly. But before, I'm just going to say, next to me, I have a finalist from Startup Booster. He's Amael, the founder and CEO of CompPair Technologies. I have next to him Jelle BLOEMHOF, the head of manufacturing technologies and composite at Airbus. Next to Jelle, you have Birgit KLOCKENHOFF, project engineering of advanced materials at Mercedes-Benz. And next to her, we have Sophie TUVIAHU, the VP of Biz Dev and Sales at UBQ Materials, a finalist of Startup Booster in 2019. Before we get started, maybe we can get just a quick introduction. If I give you 1 minute to each of you, starting with you, can you tell us who you are, what you do at CompPair?
Thanks a lot, Ben. Pleasure to be here, and good afternoon to everyone. So yes, my name is Amael. I'm CEO and co-founder of CompPair Technologies. We are a young company created 2 years ago in 2020, early 2020. And what we are bringing is new types of composites materials that have the ability to heal themselves only with a heat trigger and be better recycled at the end of life. We currently produce at an industrial scale for various types of first implementation to customers, mostly into the leisure industry, but we're looking as well to the wind and the aerospace industry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Jelle BLOEMHOF. So I'm head of manufacturing technologies for Composite and Airbus Commercial. Our mission is to constantly improve the composite process in the existing programs, but also to prepare the future, to develop components of the future like wings or fuselage or whatever you could think of in composite technology.
Thank you. Birgit.
So hello also from my side, happy to be here. I'm working at Mercedes-Benz in the Future Research Department, and I'm there responsible for all, let's say, sustainable materials of the future or advanced materials of the future. So we are checking out the world's innovations to find out which new material could fit into the Mercedes of the future.
Thank you. That was short. You had 1 minute if you want. Please, UBQ Materials, what are you doing?
Well, hi, Sophie TUVIAHU, VP of Business Development and Sales at UBQ. At UBQ, we have developed a technology that virtually creates a new composite material made entirely out of household waste. So your food waste, your cardboard, your paper, your diapers, and your unrecyclable plastics are turned into a composite that can be used afterwards, apparently also in a Mercedes-Benz. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to keep your microphone close to your mouth so we can hear you well, also because we have people watching us from abroad online. And I will continue with you, Sophie. I would like to know a bit more, what did the Startup Booster competition brought to your company?
Well, firstly, it was an incredible exposure. I think that to showcase our technology, to reach out to OEMs and all the tier ones that could see the potential of a product that can be used in very high level, high definition, high performance products was really an incredible opportunity, especially since it was at the very beginning of our coming into the market. So it was like a lift of faith from Mercedes' side for sure, but also for ours, because we were really trying to understand how to build our proposition better. And this was an incredible learning experience and also a thorough success.
And it was in 2019, right?
Yes, we came here at 2019, and it was in March as well. And only at the beginning of 2019, we actually came into the market with the first industrial trials of UBQ. So it was very, very early in our development, and we were virtually very lucky.
Thank you. Amael, what is it for you? And you won in 2021, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And first, I think coming back also to UBQ, it's an incredible exposure, but also when we are into the startup ecosystem, there are different phases. We did spin off from École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, so EPFL in Switzerland. And there is this ecosystem, this strong support out of the university that enables you to go to the next step. But then at one point you have experts in materials, in various fields that also assess your case and trust you. But at one point when reaching to the composites industry and when you have such recognition from composites experts and the composites industry, for us it was really important. And actually, of course, there is all this exposure, and we talked before about various companies and various industrials that contacted us thanks to the Startup Booster, but it's also for our development, having this recognition and people that do not necessarily know the composites industry. We could have this award by saying, okay, now there is the composites industry that trusts you, that trusts us as well, and that assessed our case, and that it is a strong case, actually.
Thank you very much. And to tell the audience a little bit more, what is it that we're talking about, in case you don't know what is Startup Booster. This is the leading competition for composite startups, right? It's been around for 5 years, as the name of this session tells you. And what's going on before you get to see those companies here at GEC, that there is like an evaluation process. Like we receive applications from all over the world, more than 30 countries, reaching out to different accelerators, research centers, really trying to find the new companies, right? There's a series of criteria to be eligible and so on. And then the partners of the competition, that's my introduction to my next question, they review those applications. They have a tough time because there's like a lot of, very interesting companies, and they have to make a selection of those that will be finalists and are joining the event here in Paris. That was my introduction to ask both of our partners. So Mercedes-Benz and Airbus have been partners of the competition since year one. They are involved in the evaluation, they are involved in the finals, they are reviewing the pitches, they are here on stage during the finals, picking the winners. So I'd like to ask both of you, what is your motivation at both Airbus and Mercedes-Benz to be associated with the Startup Booster competition? Maybe we'll start with you, Birgit.
Well, I mean, I get startups on my desk. I mean, I think 200 startups each year. A lot of them, of course, from the JAG. For us, the JAG is one key source of startups in the material field, because there's a lot of innovations coming from all over the world. And the motivation is to be here is we are looking for disruptive technologies, and startups can provide those. Technologies that maybe big companies cannot provide to us in a very short time. So for us the motivation is very high to be here, to get in contact with the startups, to get really on the cutting edge of technology, and to understand also what is difficult about innovations, and to help them to grow and to get into a car one day, and that is not really an easy thing. So we see it in both ways. Getting innovations, but at the same time helping innovations to become relevant in the future.
Thank you. Is it similar for you, Jelle, at Airbus?
Yes. So we're quite a technology-driven company. Innovation is super important for us. Composite is super important for us. So what we do is take all the proposals from the startups and send it around in the composite community. They evaluate the proposals, give me a feedback, and then we give you the feedback. It's very efficient, honestly. So we are looking always for things that we don't develop ourselves because we don't have the capability for that. And it is just a very efficient way for us to do scouting.
And tell me just a bit more. I think in recent years, so you're interested in finding startups for the reason you just mentioned, but also maybe in recent years, the sustainability angle became more and more important for both of your companies. And having this pool of startups or the Startup Booster competition allows you maybe to find startups that are not yet in your scope and not yet in your radar, in particular in those new areas. Would you say how important is this part of the competition for you? And maybe Jelle, if you want to continue telling more about sustainability angle.
Yeah, it is very important. As I said, so we're always looking for something which could motivate us to integrate technology that we don't have in our portfolio ourselves. So what we do usually is then select the ones that are interesting for us, and this way we could learn very fast. We could also fail very fast, but it's always quite a benefit for both.
Got it. For you, Birgit?
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes is not producing materials by ourselves. We are applying the materials and we try to find the right place for an innovation. And this is the most critical thing for us because like innovation can fail at one place but be important at the other one. So yeah, that's why we are doing this work with the startups as well. They are fast, they can react very fast to our demands, they can change their scope as well and say, okay, maybe this one didn't work, but we can be very fast changing to the other direction. So that's very important for us in this innovation field.
There's a very good opportunity to ask about your collaboration with UBQ, that you met them in 2019. And I know that there is an image that maybe where the audience is seeing online to illustrate that collaboration. Tell us a bit more what happened between UBQ Materials and Mercedes-Benz. Yes, continue, please.
Okay, so like we met in 2019 here. We really saw UBQ first time here.
Did you pick them? Like, did you review them? I want to have them here as a finalist so we can meet. Huh?
Yes, we picked them that they can be here, that we can really meet them in person here. They didn't win, but that doesn't matter so much to us. So we just thought, okay, it's really worth to do a project with them because the vision of having a resource that is available also in the future is a great vision for us. So we picked them and started to do a pilot project first, like used our own tools, our own processes, our own people to build up trust because everything about innovation is trust, even like if it's such a complex thing than household waste. And basically, if you see the picture here, it's ended up in a show card beginning of this year, which is pretty nice because it was a very nice part being produced out of household waste. And we announced, I think 2 months ago, that we have it in serious production now. So like, if you know the automotive industry, to come from the idea to serious production in 3 years is...
in 3 years' time.
It's quite fast.
I guess that, Sophie, you didn't really believe that, 3 years ago.
No, it's wide knowledge. Well, I come from the automotive. Before coming to UBQ, I spent several years in the automotive industry, also as a tier 1 and 2 for Mercedes. So when we got invited by Mercedes to take part in this accelerator, I was quite skeptical. Myself, I thought that the automotive industry wasn't ready to the concept of a material made out of basically garbage. But I was proven wrong. I am very proud and very happy that we were able to really bring our act together and prove that a material made out of waste can be functional even in the automotive application.
And maybe, I don't know if you can tell us or if it's something confidential, but would you say that working with Mercedes-Benz and the Birgit team was like outstanding compared to other relationships you have, like with other automotive manufacturers, or they are all as cool as Mercedes-Benz?
Well, actually, no, they are not all as cool as Mercedes-Benz, but I can tell you that there is something that my personal theory call it the power of a successful proof of concept. And I think that having a successful proof of concept with Mercedes-Benz has opened a lot of doors for UBQ, not only in the automotive, but in many other industries that look at the automotive as a really high demanding industry. And if we can make it there, then a McDonald's tray is not a problem. So I think that we were very lucky that we were able to comply and to bring our act together.
Yes, please.
Yes, for us it was important to show that that there are technologies on the market that can fulfill like our requirements, but that are sustainable to the end. And like we said, if we can make garbage into a car, we can make everything into a car. There's no excuse anymore in the industry not to be sustainable at the end. So that was our vision to show here. Like we really were so fast. I've never experienced that myself in this industry. So we said, like, we push forward to the end, and we want to do this to show the world, yes, we can be a technology leader. Yes, it's the option to bring every sustainable material into a car without any compromises. And that's basically the reason why we did this.
I think it's also illustrating that it's a matter of people, who is behind the partnership in that collaboration, and how much drive you put on making it happen fast with all the guarantees that are required. I would like to know from the rest of the panel, what do you think about, generally speaking, and in particular with your own company, your own experience about startup cooperation collaborations, and maybe stuff that didn't work. Like in this case, we're like, okay, amazing. 3 years after a meeting here, you are in production, like in serious production. How is it usual? And I'm looking at you, Jelle, as well. How maybe stuff that didn't work. Do you want to share with us?
Yes. Well, it is. It's very diverse. Huh? So we did collaborations in things like we just kind of how to say watching what they're doing, let them work and come back with feedbacks, with proof of concept and things like that. But also we have experience with really very good collaboration, financial collaboration, then agreeing on IPs and all these things, and then work and come to a product. But usually this doesn't go as fast as in Mercedes-Benz. So in our business, everything takes a bit more time, and it is around the certification, qualification, certification, all these things. So it doesn't go, unfortunately, as quick. So it will take a time. Well, 5 years was interesting, I would say. It was very interesting. So even some of the companies we bought, Airbus bought,
From 5 years ago?
Yeah, during this period.
This period of 5 years?
Period,
Interesting. And for you, Amael, from your experience, how would you describe this collaboration with corporations, with large established companies? How easy and not so easy is it, from your experience? Feel free, we are like a group of friends here.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, and really what is at the core also of such show right now and what we're doing today. And we're really happy to be here back in person. As I said, we founded the company in early 2020, so we had all that period where we did met the companies online only, and now we can meet them all around the table, see face to face, and it will accelerate much more. But it's true that there is this timing that is quite long, and I think UBQ will confirm it, having a proof of concept and even having some parts, even if it's prototyping, but some parts that can be shown. We have some new technologies, and sometimes people come to us, and I'm sure that you will confirm that, and they say, I cannot believe it. And even now, today on the show, I had people that came and said, no, that's not possible. And even though we have those demonstrations on the show of the healable materials, and then we come with sustainability, and sustainability is a big topic, and I think it's really important to have this demonstration on the show as well, to show what is sustainability, how we tackle that, and how can we quantify that. And I think it's really important to collaborate with big corporations on the sustainability aspect, because it's not us small companies that will come and explain you what to do. We can do to a certain point, like explain also what we're doing with our products, with our materials, and get some support. And it's really, I think that's the core thing, and that's what we're doing with all the companies that we're working with, that most of the time I prefer to call them partners, because we are working together to achieve also our end goals. And I think this collaboration is really important, even if there is a financial transaction at the end, because everyone needs to be winner into this collaboration. But it's really the core to exchange together, and not only just to say, okay, here is the material, here is the new thing, and just go for it, and we leave you. And it really needs to be this two-way thing.
Sophie, please.
If I can add, it's true. I think that one of the first hurdles for a startup, especially in the sustainability reality that we live, is the too good to be true hurdle. And I define it very quickly, because when I explain that I can replace plastic with a material made out of garbage, the first reaction I get, it's too good to be true. It's impossible. And having the shiny proof of concept is really the confidence level that we are looking to convey. So when we have a part of a Mercedes-Benz made with UBQ, then it is as good as it gets. It's the best builder of confidence that can help us introduce the product into the market.
But you know, during the evaluation, I've heard our estimated partners and judges question that the innovation were really possible. Like exactly what you just said, I heard them do it. Like say, I don't trust it. How is it even possible to do something like that? Like I'm not, you know, I don't want to put you onto the spotlight, but I heard this. So I'm really curious to know, why do you think this is happening? I'm asking, you know, you, Sophie, if you want, but then afterwards, please, Birgit and Jelle, why do you think there is this sort of question around innovation from established players? Do you think like something might be of interest for the audience?
In our case, I think that it's because our innovation is somewhat related to something we can call even alchemy, okay? Because we are making garbage into gold, basically, and that is something that many have claimed they could do in the past. So companies, OEMs, have been burned with false promises, and when we come and say, no, we can make it for true, then there is some degree of disbelief that we have to disperse. And that is the reason for which coming and making it happen really will open the door for other sustainable companies, because all of the solutions are needed.
Yeah. Birgit, Jelle, do you want to react to this?
Yes, I think a lot of innovation is about psychology, about like having some kind of fear that it can't be true, that we can't handle that we don't know how to deal with it. What we did as Mercedes, we tested everything that it could be tested, like from every part, every test, material test, from top down. We asked like for, I don't know how many test results from you guys. We tested, of course, by ourselves, by independent testing, so that like we could prove on paper that this can be done, and it's true. Without having this on paper, no one believes it. And so we need to do by ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes it is obvious what a technology is and what the benefit is, and then it is easy to understand. And then we could think of, okay, does this have a business case at the end somewhere? Sometimes it's absolutely the opposite. Yeah? So they come with something woo, bow, which is, okay, how do you do this? And then they're not telling us how they do this, because it's, of course, their intellectual property. And then we need to think of, okay, do we trust this? Do we trust this? Does it work? Yes or no? And yeah, and then you have to decide what are they willing to engage. Yeah? So we can give them a bit of a budget in order to demonstrate that something in the aerospace field. But if that is successful, then we would, of course, then like to know more.
I love it. It's like a tension between unveiling the secrets, you know, the secret sauce, and unveiling too much because there's IP, you know, consideration. Very interesting. You wanted to react maybe just before? Oh, no, Jelle, sorry.
Maybe it is. Sometimes I think maybe from the position of a startup, working with such a company like Mercedes-Benz or Airbus, yeah, so we are so big that could also afraid startups. Yeah, so why should I work with them? They swallow us, or they want to copy our technology or something like that. I can imagine that. I never felt that personally, but I can imagine that it is not hurrah. It's Airbus interesting in my technology first. Yeah, some are, but some are maybe not.
The same for Mercedes. I mean, like, automotive industry has the highest requirements and standards. At the same time, you want to have the lowest price. For a startup, this is really difficult to achieve. Yeah, so, and I mean, like, we are not producers of materials, we are users of them. So that, like, why should we copy a material? That's not our goal. It's our goal to apply it.
But it can also be an opportunity for the startups, because they're much flexible and they could adapt.
We chose to take the opportunity side. I would say that in our management, okay, we sat down and we said, do we take this and run with it? And we just took it, because our position is that truly the the value of a proof of concept in that magnitude was huge for our company that was at the time at the very beginning of its life.
And it's really interesting because you spoke about are we afraid of big corporations, and while spinning off of the university, I can say that yes, indeed, we can be. And because we have also this flexibility and a startup at the beginning, every month is changing business model and is searching itself of where to go, where to implement it onto the market, and what is the best strategy. And then when we reach out to big corporations, we know that it's going to take time. But it's also the recognition of the Startup Booster that helps also to build this credibility, to build those references. And I think personally it was a mistake at the beginning when we said, okay, we just go to the small ones, because better start early than start later with big corporations where it takes even more time. And so you need to do the things in parallel. And what can afraid us sometimes, that's true, is the fact to work with big corporations in parallel to smaller ones, and how do you deal with that? And but that's the way it is, and I think there is only the best way is to collaborate and to continue into that way. So we need to do it, but sometimes at the beginning it can be a bit scary.
Thank you. And as we were saying earlier, maybe it's the company that is kind of scary, the name, the brand, but at the end, it is a matter of people. These are the people who make these things happen. And I guess that neither Birgit nor Jelle are people to be afraid of.
But it's getting the right entry point as well.
Of course, yeah.
And that's the most difficult, is how to get the right entry point. And we discussed that right before. For Mercedes or Airbus, you in here at GC, you can speak with maybe 5 to 10 different divisions. How to get the right one?
Yes, absolutely, and we are aware of that. So it's always the same. Where is the right entry point for what in such a big company? Yeah. So maybe you were talking to the wrong person if you talk to me, but I would then facilitate the communication to the right people. I think that's just to be fair, but it's another topic. If you work with, or you want to work with corporates, who do you talk to? And is this guy really the right guy for my business? Or is this just, he finds out doesn't really work for his business, but Airbus is big, so there's others.
Yeah, true. I want to dive in a little bit more on this topic. I find it super interesting. Just want to mention that before we wrap up this panel, we'll be happy to take questions from the audience. So if you have any question, please make sure to take the time to ask our speakers. Like in a couple of minutes, I'll ask you if you have a question. Just digging deeper in this one, you were telling us earlier that there are like 200 people within Airbus who receive the Startup Booster application. Like you distribute this information with them. So 200 different potential point of contacts.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so we have a strong composite expert community. So an expert is a career path. Yeah, so we have a good collaboration. It's cross-function, it's cross-business unit. We have, every second year, we have a composite day or 2 days or something. So it's we know each other. And that's the big exposure for the startups in Airbus. And honestly, I cannot control whatever they do, yeah? And it is not my main mission. It is also not my purpose. If they connect with the startups and that works, then it's good. Yeah. So
and it did work.
Yeah.
You know, because I think, you know, corporations have tried already almost everything, like having a single point of contact, building a venture client unit, doing an innovation program, and a corporate accelerator, partnering with external people, like tried almost everything. And at the end, what I see from my window, you end up having your own system that works maybe better with your culture, the way you're working with, you know, companies. In your case, you just described it, how it works at Airbus. You were telling us at Mercedes-Benz, in your case, Birgit, you have a very different approach, right?
Yeah, we work differently here. If we get these applications, or we have also our startup Autobahn, for example, we get like 200 startups each year. We are a group of out of 10 people working on like the future materials science issue. We are like evaluating those startups together, but we are not always the ones like doing the projects later on. But we have the network inside Mercedes to connect, and then really to choose, like to kind of a pre-evaluation, to choose maybe like 5 or 7 or startups out of these 100, and then we like talk to the specific divisions, building up informations. We are doing a lot of like prior evaluation by ourselves, and then like going more and more into detail with the specific series production guys or whatsoever. Like it seems it works for our culture like this. That like, for example, that the series guys not always have the time, not the knowledge of all the segments, so that we give the input, but they have the know-how for the specific product, and that works quite well for us.
Thank you. Yes, you want to react, Sophie?
I can say that in the Mercedes model that Birgit described, we were very much pulled into different directions and different opportunities within the supply chain. It included really a very heavy babysitting from the future material side in making the right connections with internal stakeholders in Mercedes, in the tier structure, and it brought out a lot of new opportunities within this one opportunity.
Got it, thank you. Do you have a question for our speakers? I'm looking at the audience here in the room. Okay, I have someone raising the hand, and the microphone will come to you. I'm looking at our dear hostess. Thank you so much. She's running, to you. So please make it to your left. Here it is. Oh, sorry. Tell us shortly who you are and what is your question, please.
Yes, I'm Serge Mwang. I'm a business developer for Voodoo, which is a startup that actually participated in.
You won, right?
Correct, a couple of years ago.
2019.
Correct, that's correct. And we do collaborate with the 2 OEMs that are here, so that's great. And congratulations for the panel. We have learned a lot, and it's always very exciting to see how things are working through up to industrial products. I have 3 questions, unfortunately, so please, please bear with me. First question is, how do you feel or make sure that the startup that you select at the beginning and the value that they have to propose will last, and that you will stay with them as long as it needs? So
wait, so we're going to take your question, get the answer, then the next one, and if you don't mind, how do we do that? Jelle.
Thank you, because you're just proving that it works in Airbus, because I was not aware that you already have a collaboration with Airbus. So thank you for that. I think this is a very difficult question, but how could you see that from the very beginning that it could have a future? Very difficult. I think it's first starts with the people. Yeah, the motivation, the quality of the people, and yeah, it's at the end it's a feeling. Yeah, it works or not. It's an emotion, and I think that is also important. Yeah, so you have to have a really a good connection, and then it works or it doesn't work. But it is not so super important to evaluate upfront everything and to do a risk analysis, 20 pages, and then come to a conclusion. It doesn't work. Yeah, so it's sometimes you really need to do something, and then you see the result.
Yeah, I agree. But it's also about the timing of an innovation and about trends in an industry. So if like the innovation fits at this point to what we need, and if like the technology is developing as fast as we might need it, or if like maybe we are developing faster or whatsoever. So it's a lot about timing. It's a lot about having a USP that is cannot be copied, or that no alternatives can come to the market for a startup, so that other companies can easily like replace a startup. That is also one thing that the startup should be aware of.
I've seen them do this, and like if they already know companies that are working in similar space, it can be bad, but it also can be good because they think like, okay, there is a trend, there is something going on there, so it's worth exploring this further. And also another element that I've seen is that if the company is at ID stage, even if we are willing to take their application, I think it's very unlikely, this is my opinion, from watching them do this, it's very unlikely that the company will reach the finals, because then you're here, and if you're just at ID stage, it's very hard to do anything, right? That was just my contribution. I hope that don't matter. Serge, you had a second question.
Yes, the second question is maybe more for Daimler. In terms of marketing and communication, how do you value because it's a premium brand, how do you value, how do you set, and when do you set the story of, for this case, the UBQ material coming from garbage to a premium vehicle, and yeah, how do you set it up?
Do you mean like that luxury and waste could not fit together, maybe? Yeah, some people were afraid of that, but to be honest, we had no bad news or anything on the market. We even won the sustainability award in automotive with this topic. So like there's a lot of people saying Mercedes is doing it like the right time, and it's disruptive technology to show that you are the technology leader. We started with small communication, of course, and the communication went bigger and bigger now until now we have it in series production. Of course, we announced this also like big news. Yeah, so for us, it's not. It has nothing to do that. I mean, luxury and waste and sustainability has to come together in the future. And if you can produce luxurious goods with waste, what else do you want?
Thank you. If your last question is very fast, I can take it. Otherwise, I need to move forward and wrap up, my panel.
Well,
what was your question?
I prefer maybe if someone else has a question to take.
I'm looking at the audience. Raise your hand if you have one more question for the panel. Yeah, you're the last one. Quick question from Serge, the last one.
Yeah, the business question. Okay.
Okay.
When do you start to set up your because you produce the material. Obviously, you're not a tier one, and you either. So when do you set up the business question with the partners that you work with around? Because
so this is a question for the startups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it really depends. I mean, we are in our processes with the Mercedes-Benz different tiers. All of them have their own purchasing process, procurement process, and the negotiation is done with the manufacturer of the actual part. We are talking about companies that are manufacturing parts, companies that are formulating new materials, and each of them have their own protocol, and the negotiation is done directly with them under the Mercedes-Benz umbrella.
Thank you.
On our side, our business model is to sell pre-preg, so we are, of course, selling our materials, but the business questions comes into the game quite early throughout the collaboration and the financial transaction in that case.
Thank you. I need to wrap up. I have 1 minute left. So this is Startup Booster 5th anniversary panel session. We had an amazing conversation here. I know we could talk a lot more. If you had one thing to tell people who are interested in this competition, one thing, one takeaway, things that we could improve, you have 10 seconds each. I'll start with you, Sophie.
For the startups, I would say come prepare. Prepare your file, prepare your dossier, prepare the information you want to bring to the table with the OEM.
Thank you. Birgit.
Don't be afraid, just do it.
Thank you. Jelle.
I would say put yourself in the shoes of the jury, because they're deciding. So based on what criteria should they decide? So the dossier is the most important thing.
Thank you. Amael.
Also, just do it and prepare your pitch as well for the competition.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great afternoon, everyone. See you soon.